Hi, we're going to get started. Welcome to the Holloway series in poetry. I'm Jeffrey G. O'Brien, one of the curators of the series. And tonight we're really fortunate to have our own Samia Rahimtulah here and Rob Fitterman direct from New York and the internet and Citations Affect. Before we get tonight started, I just want to tell you about the upcoming events. On 3/5, Thursday, March 5th, A.B. Spellman will be here with a cameo intro from Ishmael Reed. And then on April 2nd, the young poet Cyrus Console will be in town to give a reading. It's also a Thursday. And then on April 23rd, our current Holloway poet in residence, Ariana Reyes, will be here. And she will give her reading. And there will be a reception after that down the hall in 3:30. After the reading tonight, there'll be a short Q&A whose duration and intensity will depend on your consciences. And then there will be books for sale over here by Mr. Fitterman for you to look at. And I'm sure he'll either sign them or tell you why he won't on principle or sign somebody else's name. I'm not sure which. And so first up will be Jillian Osborne, who will be introducing Samia, and then Colin Dingler will introduce Rob Fitterman. So thank you for coming.
Hello. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay. I'm really happy to be introducing Samia. It's been really great to get to know her and her work since September. So, Samia's poems are engaged in a poetics of ore, a divestment of origin, she writes in Departure, or a letting loose. In this same poem, struggling urban trees are dissatisfied or curious for air. Toward the end of the poem, there is an accumulation of ores, an escalation of ores, one ore upon another, so that the choice they appear to be extending, either this or that, succumbs to the sheer force of their collective potential, their power of oreness. By extending to us these profusions of possibility, Samia's work isn't really interested in actually choosing, solidly landing upon a choice, but is rather deeply invested in occupying the tenuous dynamism of the process of choice itself, the moment in which options array themselves in all of their simultaneous abundance and intractability. These possibilities are sometimes negative, not accessory nor embellishment, she writes and mistook, neither hide nor seek. Even in moments of norness, however, Samia's poetry reminds us that we are nevertheless presented with a plurality of choice. It's not one thing we're rejecting, but an interrelation of terms, hide nor seek. One won't be left without at least an acknowledgement of the leaving of the other. This poetics of orness or norness extends beyond the specific use of these terms. In a sonnet series about nightclubs, flirtation becomes a dramatic enactment of or. Here, gender and desire are put on, taken off, danced around, and invited without ever being fully pinned down, definitively chosen. And after Marseilles, how are you supposed to say that? You'll hear it when Samia says it the right way. The approach and retreat of desire is flaunted and flirted with, she writes. In Anthem, language itself is shown to perform an endless flirtation. Samia writes, brink of saying, barter. And in Mistook, flirtation finally reflects upon itself so that we dress up, flirting our strategies of love, wearing them. If there is an urgency to the in-betweenness of these poems and ethics to their ore, there is a seductive playfulness too. As terrifying as that stretched out space in the midst of choice can be, it's an appealingly possible terror that poetry may afford us. Samia grew up in LA, received her undergraduate degree from Reed College in English with a concentration in physics, has lived in New York and Japan, and became known as the savviest financial analyst on Wall Street when she quit her job there last year and came to join the English PhD program at Berkeley. We're glad to have her with us. Please join me in welcoming Samia Rahimtulah.
I hope I can live up to that. I'm going to start with a poem called, can you hear me all right? Okay, The Bus to Jersey. The whole mud gray country out there in swamps, out past the silo, its single helix of steps, as if gaining perspective always involved circumspection, a looking around at things. The tight grip of trees knuckled at each intersection, not a soul out there, strolling beneath the sky's choleric haze. The worst part, the absolutely worst part of it being that it isn't like anything, this thing made out here, a seepage glinting under the refulgence of a desperately setting sun. In this next poem, I guess you should know that Khan refers not to like, I don't know, Khan, but to a Persian chieftain or something like that. And yeah, that's it. Undertow. Through the shuddering grief of palms, I listen for the heart's red mechanism. Even the roses are drowned in this night's wreck. Even the streetlight's citrine flicker. I swab phlegm from the thirst of my father's tongue. He is a Khan, he says. He is a branch manager. Oh, gods of water, oh, castaways. Each tray leaves him uneaten. They enter from the hall's fluorescence, these doctors that administer our pain. Pry him open and sear the dark mouth with cold instruments of light. In the TV's muted tropics, water surges from the sea. The hotel is white as knuckle, bone fractured by wave. They lower an anchor, and he is kept from the dark drift. Father, mud erases us. One tube feeds us while the other sucks us dry. O angels, serpents of the sea, come for us drowned. Come for us who cling to this earth's greedy machines. Love, I loved you. Then a parade marched over the frontier of my heart, stamped down the prairie grass with mercurial feet. Lust used me up like a mosquito coil, then one by one lovers swarmed for the feast. In the mud field, a storm had swept. Toppled signposts bent the straight spines of corn. This was a country twisted in its black twine of rivers, a map with its one road torn out. I'm going to read 4 sonnets that are from what Jillian mentioned as a sonnet sequence. They're all set in nightclubs, and they range in place from New York to San Francisco, some elsewhere, but these are all there. So I guess for each of them, I'll tell you the name of the club and the place. Admission, Double Happiness, Chinatown, New York. Daylight wilted down to a yellow stalk, 2 a.m. drizzle. Distant thump of a sanitation truck hauling fish guts and spoiled bok choy from seal slick alleyways. No sign here but a bare bulb washed by rain, an oxidized staircase ending at a metal door. Like sharp rocks jutted out from mines, this city, and we down here in the lava's afterglow. Beneath the vaulted roofs, in cellars, caves, the trumpet blare like street-level traffic bent wildly loose, a sob in the syntax of streetlights. It wasn't alchemy that brought you, its rich claim for otherness. It was song itself, jewel-like, embedded. The next poem is called After Marsyas, and Marsyas was the unfortunate satyr who challenged Apollo to a singing contest, or a lute contest, rather, and played better music and was flayed alive for that. So After Marsyas, Club 6, San Francisco. The floor is thick with bodies, recoiling hips. Behind the speakers, the bug transmits his muscular rhythms. A boy two-steps, and he throws the next record down. Encoiled with smoke, a dark figure takes the stage. The stench of liquor spills against the floor, roiling us. Warrior queen, she chants into the mic, midnight's oracular, just a manic nation's noise. Condensed down here, the assonance of gunshot and snare, her taunt song slung right above us, almost a command, though who would follow it? The retreat replayed in every remix, flaunted and flirted with, stripped. Mistook, Cholet, Tribeca, New York. Not accessory or embellishment, neither hide nor seek, masculinity at the knuckle, anklets chiming at her feet. Mostly it's men here, a handful of women, Indian, Trini, diasporic, dressed up, flirting our strategies of love, wearing them, encircling her, but swaying to our own makeshift, encircling her, but swaying to our own makeshift desire, mistaking that old trope of moths ruined by love, emanation swapped for attraction. Forget those stage-lit rays, their careless caresses. They might cast on any of us, embolden, repair. But in the bar's long mirror, nothing's revealed nor longed after. Dark and light flung back upon light and dark. Vagrant, mistook. The next sonnet is, it doesn't really have a place. I guess it's kind of ubiquitous. It's called Anthem. Without music, words, absent harmony or locked exchange, tongue-tied inside it or simply teasing it out. By the spoonful, inside one cheek, then the other, squirreled away for a rainy day, sung out, nay, belted. The baseball fields of America hush themselves, cock your ear to the wind, listen. Spangled shreds of song orbit car antennas, beneath their crushed rings, slung low and ranged wide, talk, endless flirtation, brink of saying, barter. Tuning in to the infomercial, desire like a chewed up leather worm, passed from one mouth to another. I know that's gross. Okay, this poem is called Departure. And I wrote it after I went back to New York for 3 days just to visit in the fall after having lived there for a number of years, and I didn't really want to leave. Departure. A storm delays us. Its wind lashes far Rockaway's sycamores. A faint glow prior to ash warms their near-spent flames. The runway is a blur that goes on for hours, a span that exceeds the entire girth of this way-stationed continent. An unending stasis funneled through airports, diverted into terminals and depots, a divestment of origin. Or a letting loose, like those huge trees whose limb-like roots tear through the city sidewalks, dissatisfied or curious for air. But the runway is smooth, unbending, a trance-like river that shines with rainwater, obliterating geography for my more personal terms of departure, arrival, the old place run like a gold thread beneath the new, a seam of prospects that, having once brought wealth, undermines, or the adaptive exhaustion of metaphor itself, the bracken tides of Long Island Sound endlessly fleeing each other, or the dramatics of stage lovers whose resolution differs endlessly off stage or in that afterlife, the promise of unity there, its slender, coercive tethers. Thank you.
I never know how close to get. Is that good? Can you hear me? Rob Fitterman has authored several books of poetry over the last 2 decades, including award-winning installments of the ongoing poem Metropolis. He has collaborated with visual artists on a variety of projects. Check out War, the Musical, a book he made with Dirk Rowntree, or What Sebastian Dreamt, a film he co-authored that was selected for the Sundance Festival in 2004. He teaches poetry and creative writing at Bard College and has taught at NYU for over 15 years. And he is the editor-publisher of Object Literary Journal and Object Poets Scoop or Poets Co-op, but it's an intentionally ambiguous word, books. A big city poet from Missouri, Rob Fitterman lives in a high-rise in New York City where he works. His location is not simply incidental to his work. Perhaps because of his acclaimed multi-book Metropolis series, Fitterman has earned the reputation of a city poet, or rather, a writer who explores urbanist poetics. Happy as poetics may be to take on this adjective, Fitterman's work as poetic urbanist does anything but confirm our preconceptions of the appended urban. Commentators and blurbers on the Metropolis series have observed that the city is not in the poems as an object or image so much as the poems exploit forms of urban experience as strategies for writing. There is no distinct figure moving throughout the many sections of the Metropolis serial, nor is it even clear if the metropolis of the title is a single or actual city. Though the text does indicate things like town lines with actual lines in the text, and segments like the final tercet of Metropolis 17, Kmart, KFC, Kmart, do help us to get our bearing. In Fitterman's work, then, the city is incidental, though it is the fact and manner of incidents, and not simply the city, that is his poem's incident. Fanning through a volume of Metropolis like a flip book, one sees another play on this word, catalogs of prices and minor expenses, the incidentals of consumerism. As a broad set of strategies for writing, Fitterman's urban includes sampling, mixing, overhearing, splicing, commuting, marketing and selling, ready-madification, being co-ambient with, and using technology variously. In our age of information explosion and dissemination, one viable strategy for culture makers is to create works as synthesizers, recyclers, and plagiarists, says Fitterman, in what may be his own words. Insofar as the adjective urban describes Fitterman's poetry, it doesn't simply designate a place to work and walk in, but rather a period in the development of society and its systems. We would do well to keep in mind philosopher Henri Lefebvre's dynamic concept of the urban, shorthand for the urbanizing process that encompasses all of society, not just its cities. Society has been completely urbanized, Lefebvre writes in 1970. This urbanization is virtual today, but will become real in the future. In this sense, a vacation home, a highway, a supermarket in the countryside are all part of the urban fabric. It makes sense to read Fitterman, the urbanist, as a denizen of this urban society, practicing collage and procedural writing sometime between Lefebvre's virtual and his future real. Whatever truth the image of Fitterman the flaneur may hold, the illusion is also misleading. Fitterman is a poet who lives and works in the city, where he clearly spends a fair share of time stationary, searching around on the internet. The poet's fingers do a lot of the walking and standing still in Metropolis, and Google does a great deal of the talking. I'm told that all of the text in Metropolis 30 is lifted from the internet, sometimes directly, other times reorganized in collage-like poems. The web allows Fitterman to exchange expression for expressions, and this sampling is yet another way to examine the continuity within discontinuity that is characteristic of urban society's virtual and often textual spaces. Within patterns that become more complex as the series continues, patterns that unfold without quite repeating, such as the mirroring partitions of Metropolis 30's 30 sections, or the suburbs viewed from space layout of text in his recent Sprawl, Metropolis XXX, the poems seem to invent endless types of discontinuity. Clearly something other than accident or arbitrariness, neither personal nor impersonal, this discontinuity penetrates down to a sublexical level. Some of Fitterman's poems employ a technique I could only describe as the opposite of a portmanteau word. If we do come across portmanteaus in these poems, they are likely to be stuffed with fenced goods, stolen identities, rubber ducks, or severed limbs. Please join me in welcoming Rob Fitterman.
I'm going to show two visual pieces that are fairly brief, and then I'm going to read from Sprawl. I think the visual pieces, many of you I don't know, not yet, so these will be sort of an introduction to me. This one is called Rob's, or Refresh.
How much longer, Rob?
It's endless. The second piece is entitled Biz Quick, Biz Long. between Iceland and Greenland, the gateway into the... So, what's this all about? I thought this was supposed to be a poetry reading. But all these bells and whistles, I mean, maybe that's the problem. Maybe if you had some real content to begin with, you wouldn't need to think about this reading aspect. Look, it's either a poetry reading or not. The what? Then tell me why there's so many poetry readings, so many normal poetry readings. They're very popular, you know. Necessity? Urgency? I don't know. Festivals, conferences, all that. It's different. What about just articulating well? That's important. I mean, do you have to wear a hat? Nobody's accusing you of wearing a hat, of having to wear a hat. I'm just saying. It's just what? All right, good. So I'm going to read now a bit from Sprawl, Metropolis 30A. And I think Sprawl is going to be the last book of Metropolis. It takes place in the suburbs and on the internet, not by happenstance. get the lunch special. Bento box. Around here, nobody. Even knows what a bento box is. They're all standing in line, waiting. To get a double cheeseburger while I'm over here cruising right in for my bento box. Talk about I'm loving it. The best part of Zen 5 is those crazy sushi uniforms. And when those kids wear those kimonos or whatever, I like lose it. While I'm in line. I mean, come on. Why can't these guys wear like regular clothes? They don't dress up in gondola uniforms to serve pizza, do they? I don't know. Maybe they do. I promise to read the rest a little more quickly. That's from the food court. And so we are going to be going through the whole of Sprawl, more or less, an abbreviated version. And Sprawl is designed as a mall, so we'll be visiting several department stores, an atrium of kiosks, food court, and lastly, the Cineplex. Indian Mound Mall. Good afternoon. When you come to Indian Mound Mall, you've come to history. Located directly to the east of the mall, to your right, facing the main entrance, is one of the great mysteries of the Native American Indian. 1,000 years ago, on the banks of the Mississippi River, in what is currently southwest Illinois, there was a city that now mystifies both archaeologists and anthropologists. At its zenith, around 1050 AD, the city that is now called Cahokia was among the largest metropolitan centers in the world. About 15,000 people lived in the city, with another 15 to 20,000 residing in its surrounding suburbs and outlying farmlands. It was the region's capital city, a place of art, grand religious rituals, and science. But by 1300, the city had become a ghost town. Its carefully built structures abandoned, and its population dispersed. This odd silence on the matter of Cahokia has led some experts to theorize that something particularly nasty happened here. Possibilities include an ugly struggle for power following a leader's death, a government gone berserk, droughts, a period of very cold weather that killed the crops, disease. All have been put forth as reasons for Cahokia's demise. Despite its hard luck reputation, the Cahokia site feels immensely peaceful today. There's no whiff of angst from an unsettled spirit world, no sense that anything awful happened here. So feel free to roam the grounds, bring your camera, and show your children the mystery of the Native American Indians that they won't soon forget. Level 1, and this opens with a quote from Walt Whitman. In the day among crowds of people, sometimes they came upon me. I too had received identity by my body. That I knew was of my body. And what I should be, I knew I should be of my body. Crossing Brooklyn Ferry. Macy's. I bought an incredible amount of clothes for next to nothing. Well, not really. I blew a ton of money. But for what I bought and the quantity of things I bought, I did extremely well. You can always find the basics. Good customer service, great selection, colorful, preppy, and classy. These are the must-haves. Payless shoes. I'm the kind of shopper that doesn't rely on brand names only. I've worn my dress shoes to formal balls, and I have had many compliments. I can tell you these shoes have held up well during the two-step, polka, waltz, cha-cha, and many other dances. I'm thrilled to have just bought this kitten heel pump with the velvet bow and floral lace over satin. H&M. So there was this guy wearing what looked to be girls' jeans. They were so tight on him. So my questions are, how many guys wear jeans made for girls? Do you find them really tight? Do girls like guys to wear these tight jeans? I think he looked hot. Maybe they're boys' jeans. I had really good results. They have boy and girl jeans. Not just emo kids wear them, but you'll find a lot of people in their 20s do as well, especially those into the music scene. A lot of boys wear skinny jeans, but they're not girls' jeans, even though I know boys who get their skinny jeans in the girls' section. Bath and Body Works. They have so many great scents, and the staff is very friendly. My personal favorite is Cucumber Melon Body Spray. For around $9, the bottle lasts at least 3 or 4 months, and I use it generously every day. I bought the Breathe Happiness lotion and some new volumizing shampoos and conditioner. I also really like to check out the Aqua Tanica Spa products I bought when that line was launched, because I've had really good results. Nordstrom's. These will look great with a pinstripe suit or jeans. It advertises a man who knows what he's doing. Nothing is more suave and commanding than a striking tie. To impress your boss, to outshine the guy in the cube next to you, or to get the attention of a cocktail waitress. This isn't for me. This is some kind of lawyer look. Eddie Bauer. So I never really bought their clothes because they always seemed expensive, plain, and a tad ugly. You know, sometimes I just need a plain, high-quality V-neck sweater. Is that so wrong? Lacoste. I only went to college so I can play tennis. I've got their credit card, and to me, a credit card is like free money. I use it to get things, and then I never have to pay for them. Sure, I get credit card bills, but in my mind, paying those credit card companies is wholly unrelated to any shopping I may have done previously. It's just a thing I do every month. Level 2, American Eagle Outfitters. By now, we have successfully completed several purchases. This says school, but it also says weekend. It doesn't scream anything. K Jewelers. My husband purchased the ESP plan for a pair of two-tone gold hoop earrings. When I returned on Saturday on my way to an appointment, they couldn't find the ring. I'm telling everyone who will listen to run, don't walk away from K Jewelers, and then every kiss from K can go on my ass. Solstice. It used to be that when you wore sunglasses, the brightness of the world got dimmer. Not anymore. These Revos actually make the world brighter by allowing beneficial light in and blocking the harmful wavelengths. Colors are actually enhanced and the world is virtually glare-free. As far as price, you're looking at high 100s to mid 200s, but I'm telling you right now, you will not regret spending it. Don't believe me? Try some on. Your credit card will practically fly out of your wallet. Trust me. Limited Express. Please be honest and tell me what you think of it. It's not my dream dress, but I have to get something before it gets too late. Of course it's not my color, it's baby blue. I'm gonna have long, layered brown hair with mahogany highlights and side-swept bangs, and I'll probably do some tanning. The Living Room Coffee House. Are you serious about skating? I skate. I used to skate a lot, and some of my friends are like pros now. There aren't a lot of girl skaters, I mean female skaters, that I know of. I'm a bean man, so if you ask me, you have to get the whole bean and grind it at home. Lens crafters. I know it says one stop, but we're going to be here all freaking day. Mom made me buy them. I came out of here looking like the biggest freak you could imagine. Barnes & Noble booksellers. I recommend watching your back if you do business with this store. There is a small group of employees who are highly unprofessional and talk behind your back. Many questionable activities occur during smoking breaks and trash disposal. Cell phone use by employees during this time is usually when these activities occur. Drug use is common in the bathrooms, especially heroin and crack. Level 3, Saks Fifth Avenue. They offer the best quality, and best things in life are never free. If you can't afford it, too bad, so sad. People who even try to compare Saks to other retailers have never looked close enough to see what real quality is. Try to buy a Mercedes on a Volkswagen budget and see what you get. To the naked eye, they're both German cars, but boy, are they different. PacSun was one of my favorite stores, was one of everyone's favorite stores from 2000 to 2003. Not sure what happened after that, but the clothes are boring, unattractive, and just plain weird looking. The quality in the clothing has taken a nosedive in recent years. Quite simply, the quality is extremely low compared to what it was. Also, it's depressing. No one's in the place. It's like a morgue. And that's just weird for all this happy surfing themes. The Atrium. Cinnabon. If there's a Cinnabon, we usually stop there. As you may know, both my kids are doing postgraduate work. Though we're not helping with, with tuition, I have a great time thinking of what to send them each month, or more than one time a month. It's become a game for me. Icing by Claire's. This slim, flower-topped compact will slide right into your tiniest purse, beach bag, or back pocket. Snaps open to reveal 6 sheer lip gloss shades and an applicator brush inside. It's not about what I need, but what'll look good. Yankee Candle. I think it's not necessary, but heck, it can be pretty romantic if I stay away from any open flames. I hate the scented ones, though. I always go with the plain ones. The scented ones give me a headache for some reason. This is a great way to be romantic or try to get that certain someone in the mood for a little one-on-one for New Year's. Hickory Farms. Check it out for friends and family who are impossible to buy gifts for. Either they have everything or they don't like anything. I remember when there used to be big stores like these at the mall. Now it looks like a couple of cheese logs and sad-looking sausages. Food court. Zen 5. Get the lunch special bento box. Around here, nobody even knows what a bento box is. They're all standing in line waiting to get a double cheeseburger while I'm over here cruising right in for my bento box. Talk about I'm loving it. The best part of Zen 5 is those crazy sushi uniforms, and even when those high school kids wear those kimonos or whatever, I like lose it while I'm in line. I mean, come on, why can't these guys wear like regular clothes? They don't dress up in gondola uniforms to serve pizza, do they? I don't know, maybe they do. Sparrow, Italian eatery. I looked up Sparrow on several English-Italian translators, but none of them had it, so I still don't know what it means. Update, somebody just informed me that Sparrow is a family name. I should have known that, LOL. Many Americans have the same pizza cravings that I do and are eating it almost nonstop, sometimes every day in my case. I have eaten a lot of pizza in my life, and I found that Sparrow makes the best pizza far and away. Charlie's Steakery. If this is steak, then my vitamin water is champagne. It's some kind of flabby, chewy organ meat tasting like a piece of crap in styrofoam container with 2 sides for like $10. Yippee. Long John Silver's. My son-in-law enjoys lying to me and leaving out great portions of the truth. I don't think he's a liar, but I know he loves to watch me get angry, and I know he enjoys laughing at my misery. When he asked me to go to lunch with him, the only reason I agreed to go with him was because he described this place as a seafood restaurant. I thought it was like Red Lobster, where you could order from a menu of fresh fish and have it prepared the way you want. Again, I was wrong. Arby's. You could stop right here with all your complaints about burgers, burgers, burgers. If you don't like beef, then they have other items on the menu. Right now, I have coupons for 2 chicken sandwiches. They're also promoting their cheddar curly fries for just 99 cents. Talking of 99 cents, you could get an apple or cherry turnover, a shake, or a junior roast beef for this great price. You'll probably have to use a coupon for this offer. I often pop in for a shake. They do vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, and Jamocha. Taco Bell. I hate fast food, but I love Taco Bell. Anyone who knows me will never ask me to eat at a burger joint because they'll know what I'll say. Even my boyfriend knows I'm a Taco Bell freak, and I decline all invitations to fancy schmancy places. Last section is the Cineplex. The Cineplex, you might imagine hundreds of sitcom TV shows and films that have a tete-a-tete moment between one person in a family and another. So this is in categories between mother, father, mother, etc. These are abbreviated versions of some very long sections. But anyway, so think of your favorite sitcom, whether it be Leave It to Beaver or Saved by the Bell. It's in here. 1, father to daughter. Now let's see, what were we talking about? Ah, yes, anticipation. I want to preserve every moment of our lives. Sweetie, I promise, if there's something wrong, I'll make it better. I'm taking you out for a father-daughter day. Mom won't be home until late, you know. Sometimes I think you give her too hard a time. I need to be there for the good times and the bad times. You're a totally normal kid. Sometimes I get so caught up in my work that I don't do what I should do around here. Things are happening with you, big things, and I don't want you to be scared to tell me about them. Daughter to father. It's okay, Dad. We understand that you have to work. It's amazing. You think you know your parents and then everything collapses. I don't know what else to say except I'm sorry. You just don't understand how Mom can be, that's all. Do we have to talk about this right now? I'm starting to like Anne Frank. You don't understand, Dad. Out of nowhere, she gets in these moods. Dad, please, it's Saturday. Let me talk the way I want. Yes, I tried your advice and it didn't work. If your advice is so good, then why don't you follow it yourself? You just don't get it and you're not ever going to get it. Does God really punish people like the Bible says? Father to son. Someday when you grow up and get married, you'll understand that you can't get everything exactly as you want it. You're hanging in there, and that takes character. No son of mine is going in an animal costume. Now hold on just a minute. You're my son, and the last thing I want to hear you doing is running down your own thing. You want to build a treehouse together? Do you really think that's a good excuse? Mom feels that you and I need to bond more. This may not mean much coming from me, son, but I admire you. Son to father. I just wanted to say that I'm glad you pushed me so hard. Pa, how can I get her to like me? Dad, I remember everything that you taught me, and I'm going to turn around and teach my kids. Dad, you're up. I don't know, Dad. I just thought the whole thing would blow over. This is not something you can fix. Daddy, when you're right, you're right. This is like something I've always dreamed about. Mother to daughter. I would never dream of being critical. I hardly know the girl. I think we should go ice skating. Dinner is almost ready. Oh, honey, don't worry. You'll find another one. I'm just a burden. He's done what he thinks is best for the future. Maybe we've underestimated your dad. Maybe he's capable of understanding it. What's a mother for? So, do you feel better that I confided in you? So, I want to ask you something. Daughter to mother. I had my hair dyed, okay? Have you ever told me the truth about anything? Mom, I'm really tired of taking the blame for that. It's not my fault. This is why I don't tell you things, because you overreact. Thanks, Mom. I don't know how I could have done this without you. This is one of those situations where you can stay out of it. All right, Mom, would you please just let me handle things in my own way? You think you know all the answers, Mom, but you don't. What's this about, Mom? Why are you so flipped out? Yeah, I'm a cold and unfeeling person that can't get close to anyone. Thanks, Mom. That really helps a lot. What time are we having dinner? Mother to son. You wouldn't be in this spot if you listened to your mother and father in the first place. You'll have to ask your father about that. Dinner will be soon ready. We came up here to ask you why you're acting so strange tonight. I know, it's hard. It's a real sign of growing up. We might not have a father in the house, but we sure got a man. Don't feel bad. Next time, you won't make the same mistake. Are you hungry? Son to mother. Gee, Mom, can't a guy get any privacy? But Mom, you just don't understand it. Wow, Mom, is it really that obvious? If I tell you a secret, will you promise not to tell? But I don't know what I did wrong, so I might do it again. Every time you get grown-ups mixed up in something, it goes wrong. Okay, Mom, I get your point. I thought Dad said he was going to be around all weekend. I know I have to go and talk with him, but I'll do it when I'm good and ready. It wasn't my fault, Mom. I just got caught up in the middle of it. Are all girls like that? Father to mother. Tell her to stop walking around the house in a towel. All I know is that this family is finally getting together. I think we should try that ballroom dancing. Look, I know what I'm doing. Just let me deal with this. He's supposed to be of that age when he doesn't listen to his parents. That's not helping us now, is it? It's hard to believe all the years have passed. Right now, I just assume that you keep your nose out of it. Life's like that. Nobody has to talk to anybody. It's their business. Hey, it looks like you planned something special. Mother to father. I hope it's not bad news. Now you're the one being judgmental. Was I too hard on her? You chose not to tell me, your own wife? If you're not going to do anything about it, then I will. Where did she get this don't force me philosophy? No one listens to me in this house, but I knew I was right all along. It's just so hard to look at her. She looks like a stranger. Why do I always have to be the mean one? Why can't you be the mean one every once in a while? Do you have any idea how long it's been since we've had a quiet, romantic evening together? It's like a bad dream. Thank you.
Questions? If anybody has any? I was going to wait for a long time before asking you a question about waiting, but I can't bear it, so I will.
About waiting tables?
No.
Oh.
But you can make it about that if you want. I was just thinking about how the first two visual pieces and then the first piece, which you read extremely slowly with a kind of somatic page break, were really about establishing a kind of waiting or several forms of waiting in us, and I assume in a reader's body, even if you're not there with her. And I just wondered how you thought about establishing that waiting as a kind of salutary effect or a chastening effect, what you think you're producing in us when you do that.
Wow, that's a good question. I think they're different in my mind. Different strategies, I think, for those different things. In Rob's, I think the waiting is about waiting for something to happen that doesn't happen, but has this attention on the transition, which is a lot to me like sitting in front of a computer, that you get this kind of refreshed material that is the same material often. So there's that. The slowness of the other pieces, I think it's interesting to be in a situation as a listener. I don't know, maybe you could speak to this if this happens, but to be in a situation as a listener where you could almost syntactically hold it together, but you also have the opportunity to maybe fill in the blanks and start thinking about other ways in which you think the sentence is going to go, and then we have to kind of negotiate my authority that I'm going to then give you the next word. So play some games with that. That's what's on my mind.
Anyone want to break the waiting?
Did you go to Cahokia? Is there a Cahokia Mounds Mall?
I have been to Cahokia many times because I'm from St. Louis.
Okay.
And is there, no, it's a different, I used Cahokia, but there is a different Indian Mound Mall in Ohio. And that's where the text came from, the one in Ohio.
Rob, did you throw the peels into the biscuit mixture?
I did not.
It was spooky. I thought I saw you do that.
No, it was very, very serious. Those were.
Well, you thought you might want to stop it and go back. I'm not sure I believe you.
Those were delicious. They had no peels in them. No, I think so. Hope not. Maybe.
Yeah, actually, I have a question about how you made that piece as well, which is purely technical. But were you, to get the spacing right, were you actually repeating the line to yourself inside of your head? Or did you just count out a certain number of seconds? And what was the experience of that like?
Well, the piece happened because it was a flop, the original way. So I had to reconstruct it in another way that it never intended to have that.
You mean the dialogue with yourself?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah. Well, some of that maybe was supposed to be there. But wait, I'm sorry. I didn't,
well, because the timing was really on between you having the conversation with yourself.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Right. Yeah. So I wrote that thinking I was going to respond, but I didn't know what I was going to say. I just made spaces so that I could have this dialogue with myself. I knew I wanted to do that much.
Could you talk a little bit about sources in general in your work, or maybe in Sprawl, and your sort of relationship to source material, how you think about it, where you get it, and
sure.
Talk about anything in that regard.
Yeah. Well, of late, I go for the most bankrupt language I could find. I'm interested in that, and what this sort of idea of if we take a certain position that language is bankrupt, the kind of commodification of language idea, and this idea that if you bring it into these new frames, you can, if not revivify it, you can highlight the bankruptcy of the experience. So I'm really interested in that in Sprawl. And I think because it comes at the end of Metropolis, it interests me especially. So most of this language was from shopping chat rooms. But then I was interested in the language of TV and film at the end as a way in which we maybe mediate our experiences about through language. So I thought that was a little bit different in terms of grabbing language. I wasn't grabbing it on the internet. I had to sit there and watch, a bunch of Leave It to Beaver, and it was pretty painful. Yes, Juliana.
What Indian mound mall?
Cahokia?
Okay.
But no, the one in Ohio, I don't remember the name, but I could look it up.
And then is the language, the shopping language, is that from the users of the Indian mound mall?
No.
That's national.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was just a point of order. All right, so one more question, maybe?
In terms of your work, there's this tendency to highlight distance and connection through that distance. So I was wondering if you could speak to the effect that you sort of desire from playing with those.
Tell me more what you mean by distance in this way.
In terms of using disassociated language from your own perspective, like from other people's perspective, and taking the language that they use to sort of congeal and connect with other people.
Yeah, I'm interested in an idea of kind of multiple subjectivities or other ways to think about subjectivity, or identity theft, so that these identities or these emotionalities or these people, that we're sort of living in a moment where you have access to what a lot of people think and feel all the time. So I'm more interested, I guess, in embodying that on some level, I guess, than I am in my own my own emotionality, if that's what you mean by distance. So to me, I don't feel like it's, there's some distancing, I guess, too, of course. Yeah. Oh, was that the last one? Or was there one? Yeah. Yeah.
Sort of in relation to what you just said in response to that question, but what I found really striking in what you read from Sprawl is that a lot of it seemed like a kind of parody of gender performance. Like a lot of those, especially like the more obviously female or declared female chat room scenarios, that there's something about this shopping language or rhetoric that like performs a kind of parody of the female shopper in this really weird way, which is, I don't know, it becomes like this kind of folded in on itself or back on itself, double, I'm not quite sure how to articulate it, but I found it really like strange and fascinating. And I wonder about like what your thoughts about gender are as you are combing things and putting them together. What does it end up, what does it start to look like that you're playing with? I don't know, maybe that's not a question.
Yeah, it's super interesting. It's super interesting. I don't know, I'm having an A-Rod moment. Got 38 seconds. Well, at least I didn't kill anybody. You know what, though, what I'm thinking about that's interesting about that as well is I wonder how much of that, I'm just thinking about this in my own mind, how much of that is a performance, culling that material for performance, because this goes on and on for pages. There's probably 100 stores. But it's true that you can always tell the gender, or I think you can almost always tell the gender in these chat room situations. So you're on something that's very interesting for me to think about.
That's sort of what's like so kind of crazy and intriguing about them, right? Is that like theoretically people can express how they feel and say like any way they want, and it's so fascinating that in these spaces, what's often performed is like some kind of like excessive version of like the expected thing, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, I wonder if that has to do with the form of how quickly, something to do with the form of how people are putting text on the internet. Right?
But do you find that as you're, I'm sorry to keep like pressing this, but like as you're sifting through things, do you find that you want to take something that seems aberrant or like striking for its difference from the mass, or do you try to call or work with like found stuff that seems most like sort of the representative of whatever it is that you're looking at?
I think those are the biggest questions about taking material, because and I'm going to have an obtuse answer because I have a lot of different strategies for why I take, but what I take. But I think the important or the interesting conversation for me would be the fact that I don't just take the first 100 I see. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually editing, right? So in a kind of pure conceptual strategy, I would just take the first 100 I saw and wouldn't do anything to them. Right. Whether they're offensive or boring or repetitive, it wouldn't matter. But that's not as interesting to me, and I think that I appreciate or I'm curious or interested in being complicit with the process. And in fact, when I started to do this, I also tried to join these rooms and put in my own posts or put somebody else's post from another chat in there and say it was mine. And that was a strategy for doing this. I decided to not do that. But yeah, so I'm making a lot of choices. Maybe I'm making choices based on gender or some crystallized gender issues that I hadn't thought about. So it's really interesting.
That's part of what I think is like really interesting about what you're doing is that like rather than like kind of merely critiquing or something, like which I think would be like a big or like the complicity or what have you is like it creates a kind of tenderness that's really strange. And like that's like when we all respond, I think that's like we're responding to our complicity too, which is very uncomfortable, and I like it.
And that's where we're going to end, on strange tenderness. So come gently storm the poets for a couple of minutes and cruise by the books if you'd like as well. And thank you for coming, and come back in early March. And applause for the poets.